Raila handshake. Plus, fortunes divide Kenyans on how they are spending Easter.
But now I decided to bring my family here so that I can also experience how good it is.
Many saying the high cost of living leaves them with nothing to celebrate.
Sukari imepanda, unga imepanda, utasherekea na nini?
Watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Authentic, natural.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki history.
Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood, naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
This is a
Good evening to you. Welcome to TV47. My name is Stanley. Hearing it on the sign language interpretation is Roda Nyamai. I trust that you're doing well this Saturday evening. You can always talk to us on our social media platforms. Now, on a sad note, at least 12 people have been confirmed dead as dozens and nursing injuries at Migori Referral Hospital after a truck rammed into motorbikes along Migori-Isabani Highway. Elizabeth Atienuna reports on the accident that has since gloomized the mood for Kenyans during the ongoing Easter celebrations.
7:16 a.m. Saturday morning.
This white lorry is captured on a CCTV camera ramming into pedestrians, parked motorbikes and vehicles in Chamkombe area, which is approximately 5 kilometers from Migori town.
So imekuja ikiwa katika break, anajaribu kuhoot akiwa amehakisha mataa, na watu hapo bridge tunaelezwa kwamba iligonga mama moja na kijana moja, ndiye kapita ikiwe na hoot, na kufika hapo mbele ya stage ya Guardian ama hapo Easy Coach, ndio iliweza kugonga trailer ambayo ilikuwa na mchanga, na hiyo ikaanguka.
Pains us as police when we witness such accidents, because one of our mandates is to ensure there is safety on our roads.
According to eyewitnesses, before the crash, the late truck driver made efforts to alert pedestrians to give way and flashed his headlights while hooting and shouting repeatedly as he struggled to control the truck.
Gari ilikuwa imekosa brake na ilikuwa na mbio kweli kweli. Imekuja kufika bridge huko, imestua watu ambapo watu wawili walianguka kwa maji. Imetokeshea hapo ikakuja mpaka kwa stage. Sasa imeanza kufagia watu kwa stage ikifanya nini? Ikielekea.
Nimeshangaa sana. Hii gari ilikuwa lost control kutoka juu hadi toka Chamkombe hadi hapa. Hata huyu driver amejaribu kung'ang'ana kuepa, lakini watu walikuwa wamejaa kwa barabara.
Kwa hivyo tunaweza kuomba serikali ya Migori, tafadhali mtuangalie vile hizo magari ziko pembeni za barabara zinaweza kutolewa. Alafu na sisi wenye watu wa pikipiki kututafutie sehemu ambayo inafaa tusimame.
Minutes later, thousands of area residents who were reeling in shock flooded the scene, while others took advantage of the tragedy to loot the rice that was meant for export to the neighboring country of Tanzania.
Officers wetu wana rescue wale majeruhi, na huku watu wanang'ana kuiba mchele, of which haikuwa tabia mzuri kwa wananchi. Huwezi kuwa unakimbilia kuiba mchele na huku watu wameumia.
Police who visited the scene rushed those injured to Migori County Referral Hospital, where 2 of the 3 confirmed to be in critical condition died later this evening. Rescue operations are still ongoing for the remaining 2 individuals still stuck under the wreckage after they were allegedly swept by River Migori.
Chini alilalia wengine. Sasa wengine bado hawajatua paka sahihi. Tunafanya bidii ya kutoa tuone vile tunaweza furuta gari ili tusaidie wenzetu ambayo walipata majeraha.
Bado tunatafuta tuone kama tutapata mwili, vile wanasema ule aligongwa wa kwanza na mama. Na pia kwenda hospitali tuangalie wale majeruhi walipelekwa hospitali hali yao iko namna gani.
Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga has sent a message of condolence to the families of the deceased. Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who is also the chairman of the Lake Region Economic Bloc, described the early morning incident as spine-chilling. Migori Governor Ochilo Ayako also shared his message of condolences, further urging county government officials at the scene to assist with the operations. The National Police Service, through the Deputy Inspector General of Police Abdallah Komesha, has urged Kenyans, most especially motorists, to remain vigilant on the road, especially during the Easter holidays.
All road users must take care when on the road. Drivers must maintain the permitted speed on our roads, and they should slow down when approaching major towns, because roads in major towns are normally crowded. They should also ensure that the vehicles they are deploying on our roads are serviceable.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Quite unfortunate turn of events, and hopefully to all the drivers and passengers, make sure that you roll and follow the safety guidelines on the roads. Now into some politics. President William Ruto's economic advisor David Ndii has hinted at the possibility of a handshake in the middle of a political grandstanding ahead of Kenya Kwanza's parliamentary group meeting on Tuesday next week. Ndii on his Twitter page says if push comes to shove, handshake is always an option. Apollo Kamau reports on a make-or-break week for bipartisan talks.
Ahead of the much-awaited Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting that will either make or break the bipartisan talks, signs of what lies ahead emerged on Saturday after President William Ruto's economic advisor David Ndii hinted at the possibility of a handshake if push comes to shove. Ndii says, and I quote, "If push comes to shove, handshake is always an option." The move represents a softening stance from Kenya Kwanza, if not a smokescreen.
We are ready to talk, and we want to talk about the people-centered issues as much as we talk about the leadership and governance issues that affect our country.
The often combative economist said government's key consideration is survival and political stability, terming the CAS appointments as crucial to building political capital. Ndii appeared to blame Odinga's anti-government protests, now suspended, as a factor in impeding economic renewal efforts by President Ruto's government.
Kenya ni nchi yetu. Na Kenya, Raila ni mzaliwa wa Kenya. Ruto ni mzaliwa wa Kenya. Wale wengine viongozi ni wazaliwa wa Kenya. Hakuna mtu wangeomba kurarua Kenya, kwa sababu Kenya ikiraruka kama Somalia, tutaenda wapi?
Ahead of Tuesday's parliamentary group meeting, Kenya Kwanza maintains the bipartisan talks should be confined to the reconstitution of IEBC, while Azimio has opened a new can of worms by introducing new conditions and setting terms of reference subject to Kenya Kwanza's approval.
Let us never negotiate out of fear. But let us never fear to negotiate. Quote. We go into these negotiations holding the firm belief that our cause is just, our intentions are pure, and our goal is patriotic.
Among the sticking points are the opening of IEBC servers, which Kenya Kwanza strongly opposes, the reinstatement of Cherera 4, and the instant reduction of prices of basic commodities. Azimio further wants, as part of the agenda in the bipartisan talks, a review of the law to have rebel MPs seek fresh mandate and to give political parties powers to expel errant members who defect after a general election. Apollo Kamau, TV47.
From the political world, let's talk money matters. In the last few days, the country has been treated to reports of a broke government, which has left millions of civil servants and county employees without salaries. This coming amid clamor over the country's economic trajectory. But the big question is, how did we get here as a country? Paul Kirubi with the answers.
Easter holiday weekend comes with pain and frustration for millions of civil servants and county employees who are yet to receive their March salaries. The lack of funds now threatening to cripple service delivery in the counties, with sectors such as health being the most affected. County government officers have now been forced to bite the bitter truth without receiving salary payment for the last few months.
We have not received monies for January, February and March, almost 96 billion.
The cash crunch bag also catching up with the MPs who are decrying the delay of their salaries for the first time ever.
Tukirudi kwa bunge, kuna watu wataenda nyumbani. Kuna watu wataenda nyumbani na wale wa Kenya Kwanza tunawaomba, sijui wanaishi nchi gani. Tukisema firimbi huyu aende, pia Kenya Kwanza MPs, you are elected by the people of Kenya, pia mtu support waende.
The big question remaining, how we got ourselves here as a country.
We've got a lot of wastage when we talk about allowances, when we talk about benefits. There is a lot of wastage. And if you look at the amount of money that goes into allowances, in some institutions, it is more than 300% of the basic salary. So there is room for this country to be more efficient and reduce wastage by just addressing the various allowances that we have as a country.
In January this year, the Salary and Remuneration Commission Chair Lynn Mengich raised the alarm over the apparent wastage of public funds and lack of accountability in different departments of government.
The Controller of Budgets reports indicates that for a number of counties, up to 65% of their revenue is spent on the wage bill. And hence, it's not surprising that we still, as a country, especially if you look at the ASAL areas, we're still at the point of food relief.
A month after President William Ruto took oath of office, he directed Treasury to cut down the budget by 300 billion shillings in austerity. The entire budget on foreign travel, training, purchases of furniture and motor vehicles were affected in the austerity plan on the expenditures of ministries, departments and agencies, MDS, in the current 2022-2023.
To work with ministries to find at least 300 billion shillings in this year's budget so that we can remove it, because the market cannot sustain the kind of borrowing we are doing. This year alone, we budgeted to borrow 900 billion to finance both development and recurrent expenditure.
Months later, and in what seemed to be a turnaround, the government seemingly embarked on a conference and workshop spree, facilitating cabinet secretaries, MPs and senators to expensive hotels and resorts for the same. Then there is the bloated executive factor, with the administration rewarding political losers with lucrative cabinet posts, once again going against the spirit of austerity. In his government, he appointed 51 principal secretaries and 50 chief administrative secretaries, compared to the previous administration led by President Uhuru Kenyatta that had 44 principal secretaries and 26 chief administrative secretaries.
Hiyo mistake ambayo Ruto anafanya ni kuchukua wanasiasa na kujaza kwa maofisi. Unaweza, you can put wengine na wengine pia unaweka watu ambao wako na elimu. You mix, put politicians, also put technocrats. Watu wanajua kuchora economy. Lakini saa hii shilingi ya Kenya zidi ya dola imeenda ikididimia.
Members of parliament have now vowed to remove some ministers from office.
Because ukisema huyu waziri amefanya kazi mbaya aende, na wewe unasema ati ni mtu wetu unalala njaa.
As leaders continue to point fingers at each other on the state of the economy, civil servants at the county level and the national level continue to face challenges. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you for that, Paul Kirobi. Now, it is Good Saturday, the second day of the Easter. The country appears, and there appears to be two sides of the coin in how Kenyans are spending their Easter celebrations. A spot check done by TV47, some families have been forced to cut back on non-essential spending as they lament on the high cost of living. On the flip side, however, some Kenyans decided to make their way to entertainment joints and spend their time with family and friends. Take a look.
It's noon and Nancy's busy chopping kales for her customers here in Bungoma town. For her, it's business as usual, as there is not enough money and time to celebrate the Easter holidays.
Easter haina maana sahi, sababu ukisema usherehekee, kila kitu kimekuangalia. Sukari imepanda, unga imepanda, utasherehekea na nini? Lazima nikue vile una watu sahi wameenda kusherehekea kule nje. Wameenda kuswim, wao una pesa zote za kuswim. Wameenda kukula kwa hoteli kubwa kubwa, wao una chakula cha kukula kule. Ndio sababu mimi natafuta hapa yangu ile kidogo.
A few meters from Nancy's shop, we meet Faith Njoki. The business lady laments that due to the rising cost of living in the country, many Kenyans have been forced to change the trend of how they celebrate Easter. This, even as other traders and residents urge the government to reduce the food prices.
Mimi sijasherehekea. Maana kama biashara ingekuwa mzuri zaidi ningekuwa ninasherehekea. Lakini biashara bado nalia iko chini. Ndio maana tuko kazi hata siku hii ya leo ya Easter.
Serikali ilituahidi kazi kwa vijana. Na ni hali vibanda vimepomolewa. Hatuna kazi. Unga saa hii ya 2 kg, saa hii ni 220. Na watu wanasherehekea East, lakini sisi tuko hapa kana tunangangana.
On the flip side, business is booming here in Naivasha, Nakuru County.
Segments?
Yeah. As some Kenyans are making their way to enjoy the calm environment.
We mainly came here because of Easter. You know, Easter is like a family holiday. People come together for fun. Like when you're tired of the Nairobi life, fast life, you just come, you can rest when you're tired.
Despite the cold weather, the revelers we spoke to note that they came to spend time with their families before the Easter curtains come down.
Because of my previous experience, I decided to bring my family here. When I came earlier, it was for work. But now I decided to bring my family here so that I can also experience how good it is. That time I came on a business perspective, but this time on leisure to see. I'm free the whole day. What can I do?
I'm from Nairobi. When I came to Naivasha, it's because it's a touristic place. There's so many places to go. You can go to the Crescent Island, you can visit the lake. There's so many activities to do.
The Easter holidays come on the backdrop of an economic turmoil, with a section of civil servants still waiting for their March salaries, coupled with a biting drought that has affected many parts of the country.
Stakeholders, scholars and lovers of the Swahili language gathered at the home of the late writer and journalist Ken Walibora to remember him following his death that shook the world of the Swahili language 3 years ago. Our journalist Isaac Famba attended the event and prepared the following report.
When he passed away in the year 2020, relatives, friends and journalists in the country did not have the opportunity to accord the Swahili legend a befitting send-off due to the protocols imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, then which include night curfews and cross-border restrictions. 3 years later, friends, families, scholars and lovers of Swahili language converged at his home in Cherengani constituency to pay respect to the writing legend in the country. Swahili journalists including Yusuf Wambugo of TV47 and Ali Hassan Kauleni of Radio 47 gave glowing tributes to the late, where they described him as someone who loved his work.
Ken alishinikiza na kusema kwamba ninadhani kwamba hii si ofisi yako. Hata kama umesomea uhasibu, sidhani kama unafaa kuwa unafanya kazi katika ofisi ya uhasibu. Unafaa kuwa unashughulika na masuala ya Kiswahili, kwa sababu hiyo ni kama talanta na itakuwa hata nyepesi kwako kufanya kazi kwayo. Na hivyo ndivyo ambavyo na mimi nilianza hata kujituma. Na ninaamini kwamba hata kwangu mimi kujiunga na wanahabari, ninadhani kwamba msukumo wake Profesa Ken ulikuwa sana.
Na naweza nikasema kazi yangu ya kwanza wanahabari baada ya KBC kwa muda mfupi nikijiunga na Nation ilikuwa ni yeye. Yeye ndo aliniita akanifanyia mahojiano na nikawa katika idara ya michezo na tafsiri, na alikuwa mwalimu wangu pale hata katika uandishi. Ukiangalia akiwa Marekani kuna vitabu vile vya kunani Marekani na Asina Zaidi ya kwanza kabisa kuchapishwa, aliniomba hadithi zikachapishwa pale. Kwa hiyo naweza nikamuona kama mlezi wangu, mwalimu wangu, na ni mtu ambaye kwamba alinichukua akaona kama kile kipaji kipo, na amekuwa mara kwa mara akinishauri, akinielekeza hapa na pale.
Book authors in the country also did not hide their feelings about Ken Walibora.
Kwa mwanafunzi pale, kwa kweli Ken alikuwa ni mwalimu wangu wa kwanza katika ushairi, na alinikuza kutokana na uandishi wangu. Alipokuja pale shuleni kwetu Suwerwa, akaona kipawa ambacho niko nacho cha uandishi wa ushairi, na kutoka wakati huo hakuniacha nyuma. Alianza kunilea mpaka baadaye aliporudi Nairobi akawa ananiandikia barua, tukawa tunawasiliana ili katika kukuza kipawa changu.
Kwa kweli wakati Ken Walibora akifa, hatukupata fursa ya kuja kwa mazishi yake sisi marafiki wa karibu, kwa sababu ya masharti yaliyokuwepo ya kupambana na corona na mikatali ambayo serikali ilikuwa imeweka kwa sababu ya shughuli zenyewe. Kwa hivyo watu wengi sawa nasi walezi wa Kiswahili hatukupata fursa ya kuja kumzika mwenzetu.
Despite of his death, the family has been greatly angered by the way in which the investigation to determine the death of Ken Walibora has been carried out, asking the DCI and law enforcement to move with the speed.
Muda huu uliopita wote bado hatujui kilichosababisha kifo chake. Kile tunachokijua ni yale mambo machache waliotueleza wakati tulipopata habari kwamba ameuawa. Lakini yule aliyemuua, sababu iliyofanya amuue, hatujawahi kupata jibu kwa hayo maswali.
Isaac Famba, TV47, Trans Nzoia County.
And still in the whole spirit of remembering Ken Walibora, I fondly remember reading around 3 books of his, Kidagaa Kimemwozea, Siku Njema, and Ndoto ya America. Quite an author, that one. Now, on a sad note, a somber mood has engulfed Kaptama village after a local church pastor, who is also a businessman, was shot dead yesterday night by a gun-wielding gang, leaving one with injuries. Following the prone insecurity in the county, local leaders have called upon Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome to intervene on the matter.
Business was not as usual at Kaptama Market in Mount Elgon constituency, Bungoma County. Residents still are reeling from shock following the death of a local church pastor who was also a businessman. David Ngeyo was killed in cold blood by unknown assailants, where one of the residents was left with injuries. Bungoma County leaders led by Senator Wafula Wakoli condemned the police officers for what they say is sleeping on the job, asking Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome to intervene and end insecurity in the region.
Sisi pia tumezaliwa na wamama kama wewe. Kama umetosheka na kazi, funga virago urudi kwenu. Hatuwezi poteza watu wetu tukiangalia.
Pastor ambaye alikuwa si mhalifu, anatembea na Biblia peke yake. Pastor ambaye ako na moyo yake, hata si mtu ambaye anagombana na mtu. Mtu ya kuomba pole pole, mtu ya kulisha watu roho ya neno la Mwenyezi Mungu, alafu wakora wanakuja wanaua pastor.
Haiwezekani kama imefikiwa kuwa mtu ambaye ni mtu wa Mungu. What about mwananchi wa kawaida?
Mimi nilitoka all the way from my house mpaka nikafika Kaptama kama maaskari wa Kaptama wajafika. Nikashangaa na nikajiuliza, sisi kama mchungaji mwenye anaongeanga na Mungu anaweza kuawa kiolela namna hiyo? Na hawa wananchi wote sisi tuna usalama kweli?
They are now calling upon responsible agencies for immediate transfer of those police who have overstayed in the area stations, alleging that they have been colluding with the gangs.
Leo naamrisha county commander wa polisi hapa Bungoma kwamba polisi wote ambao wanahusika na misako ya kutembea na kutafuta watu ya Chang'an na Busa ya kuwashika, wote wakuja hapa Mount Elgon watafuta wahalifu ambao waliua pastor.
Kuna maaskari hapa Bungoma, hata hapa kwa hii police station, wamekaa zaidi ya miaka 15. Na kila mara nyinyi mkisema ondolewe kuna mtu anazuia.
Bungoma County Deputy Governor Jennifer Mbatiani urged residents to be vigilant, saying that the county government has rolled out street lights across county markets that will enhance security in the area.
Juzi Monday, Tuesday, tulilaunch mambo ya mataa pale Kapsokoni. Na kuanzia hii wiki Tuesday, kila soko katika Bungoma County wanaenda kutuwekea mataa. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni swala ambalo tayari tumezingatia, iko kwa mpango na tutafanya hivyo. Mataa zitawaka.
Wanji Sostin, TV47.
It is 29 minutes past the top of the hour. It is quite cold in Nairobi. I hope you're sipping yourself some kahawa or coffee. And speaking of coffee, after this particular short break, I'll be telling you what the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is planning with the coffee farmers in the country. Stick around.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki hii story. Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka.
Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture along with the risks entitled to it to make profits.
I'm a professional financier with a professional paper in banking. However, for fashion, it's something I've always loved ever since I was small.
It started as a baby business. It was all about, you have your machines, the haircuts, where the heads bring the scalps.
We wanted something that would remind us about prayer every now and then. So the moment you mention Talit, we always think about prayer because Talit Cakes is founded on prayer.
Get to learn more about these entrepreneurs and what makes them stand out in their field every Monday at 6:30 p.m. only on The Grind.
The Realtor, this is where we travel, move far and wide just to make sure that we bring you what it all entails when it comes to matters real estate.
Buying off plan is the best thing that you can do because it gets to be a journey that is even affordable and flexible.
Visit there, go down, go see what kind of production they do, what varieties do they have, what color preferences do they have.
Quality assurance is supposed to be a way of checking that the materials have really gone through tests as required.
The Realtor, every Tuesday at 6:30.
Well, Welcome back. This is the TV47 Weekend. I hope you trust. I trust that you're doing well. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will convene a stakeholders conference on implementation of curfew reforms in 2 weeks. Speaking when he visited and engaged coffee farmers in Mathira constituency, Gachagua said the conference will be to firm up proposed reforms in the subsector. The conference will bring together representatives of farmers from coffee-growing counties, governors and lawmakers, cabinet secretaries for trade, agriculture, cooperatives and members of the Coffee Exchange and Coffee Directorate, among other relevant agencies.
As a way of getting it right and getting it properly, I've convened a stakeholders conference in Naivasha in 2 weeks' time, where we'll have representatives and stakeholders in the entire coffee subsector. That stakeholder conference will have all governors from coffee-growing counties, all senators, all women and all members of parliament. In addition, we'll have the minister, the cabinet secretary for agriculture and livestock development, the cabinet secretary for trade, the cabinet secretary for cooperatives. On top of that, we'll have people from the Coffee Exchange, we'll have people from the Coffee Directorate, and we'll have farmers as well. The purpose of that stakeholders conference is to agree, it's a 3-day conference, is to agree what is to be done, so that once we have agreed on the reforms, the members of the National Assembly and the Senate President will take it up from there, so that they can create the necessary regulations and institute legislative changes that will make sure that the coffee farmer is able to market his coffee directly.
And from Mathira to Kilifi, villagers in Kadzinuni, that is in Kilifi County, are calling upon the government to resolve a land tussle occasioned by an investor whose term to lease an 800-acre piece of land was terminated by the government late last year and allegedly gifted to the community for utilization. The complaint is that the investor has taken too long to withdraw from the land, while as presenting an alleged forged title deed to sustain the delay.
At least 3,800 families from Kadzinuni, Kilifi County have lamented over the ownership of an 800 acres piece of land within a sisal plantation allegedly gifted to them by the government late last year.
Kwa muda mrefu limezuiliwa na mabwenyenye, na haki ni kwamba title deed tumepata, na mpaka sasa hii tunazuiliwa, hatuwezi lima ndani ya shamba hili.
Sisi tunapata shida, sisi ni wapotevu wa kutupwa. Kwa hivyo baba rais, kwa hapo ulipo na niona uweze kunionea huruma.
2 years ago, the larger piece of land with additional thousands of acres had allegedly been leased to an investor by the government before terminating the 800 acres lease and giving it back to the community for utilization.
Hatutakubali unyanyasaji wa watu ambao wako na stakabadhi halali. Kisheria hatutakubali. Tutafight hata kama ni wapi, ni kotini, ni watu wapatio rights zao, kwa sababu mtu ako na title alafu unakuja unamtoa
order, tumemsafu atoe vitu zake, hataki. Kwa hivyo sisi hatuna mambo mengi, hatutaki vita na polisi. Sisi mwanzo si mgomo, sisi tunataka mali yetu. Hapa hakuna mgomo, hakuna maandamano, sisi tunataka haki yetu.
The community reports that until now the investor has not bothered to withdraw from the land, thus raising suspicions of planned land grabbing. Further, they have clapped back to a title deed allegedly forged to sustain the intentions.
Tukaangalia tarehe kwanza ambayo ilisainiwa, hiyo title ilikuwa tarehe 28 mwezi wa 3 mwaka 2020. Tukaangalia hiyo tarehe 28 ilikuwa ni Jumamosi, na tukaweza kujiuliza Jumamosi title gani inaweza kusainiwa. Hapo ilibidi tuweze kufuatilia vizuri. Hata ukiangalia signatures ambazo zimewekwa kwa hiyo title ya vipingo, signatures ambazo ziko hapo ni fake.
Upon reporting the same to the Kilifi Law Courts in January this year, the Senior Principal Magistrate GM Kituku had therefore issued injunctive orders refraining the respondents of conducting a survey, planting more sisals or building any permanent walls, among other complaints tabled by the victims. This case is expected to receive a hearing in May 23 this year. Paul Muniu, TV47.
Now, a family in Kapchomusu village, Baringo Central, is seeking justice after their son was brutally murdered, allegedly by a mob which claimed that he was a thief and involved in selling illicit brew. The 19-year-old Bruce Kipruto met his death on the fateful night on 26th March after he was accosted by angry villagers while on his way home from Kabarnet, where he was beaten before he was taken to Kabarnet police station.
Wale ambao walifanya kitendo hiyo ni kitu walipanga, walikuwa na nia, na mimi nataka niseme wazi, Kenya mzima kisia na wale wanajua walifanya mpango kutoka engagement ilikuwa Nandi, wakakuja mpaka kuna nasi wakakalia hiyo mkutano usiku mpaka ya manane, na hawa si nyumba 10. Sisi tumeuliza, alisema
hatuelewi alimtafuta kwa njia gani, kwa sababu tujawahi kama familia kusikia kwamba huyu kijana anauza pombe. Kisha walipotoka walipatana na yeye njiani, wakamchapa vibaya sana mpaka ikakuwa mwili wake ukakuwa katika hali ambayo imetofika sana. Wakachukua hatua pamoja na wale wengine wenye walikuwa wamechapwa, wakampeleka mpaka police station. Walipofika mahali pale, askari waliokuwa Samu wakamuona huyu kijana hali yake ilikuwa imetofika sana.
Meanwhile, Homa Bay MP Peter Kaluma says he has submitted the Family Protection Bill to the National Assembly. Kaluma says the bill will, among other things, criminalize homosexuality, same-sex marriages, and the idea of LGBTQ behavior in the country. It also prohibits the promotion of LGBTQ in the country by clamping down on its promoters and funding by various groups. Currently, a 14-year jail term has been prescribed for anyone partaking in same-sex activity. However, the new bill by Kaluma imposes a tough punishment of at least 10 years in prison or life imprisonment. And Kenya elders have protested a decision by the National Museums of Kenya to continue holding a traditional religious artifact in their custody, terming it as a taboo in the Mijikenda community. The elders, led by the chairman of the Malindi District Cultural Association, Emmanuel Mnyaya, said it was illegal for the government to continue holding and generating income from the artifacts which contain the spirits of the ancestors. They further want the compensation from the British government, which returned the artifacts to the government 2 years ago. If returned, the elders say the artifacts will be stored in a shrine in the Kaya forest.
Sisi kama wazee wa Gohu tuko tayari, tumejipanga kuweza kupokea hivyo vigango, kwa sababu hivyo vigango ni vyetu. Maana kigango ni roho ambazo ziliweza kuamuriwa na kuingia katika ile miti ambayo mnaona ni kama imechongwa. Basi zile ni roho ambazo zimeamuriwa na wazee kama sisi, na ni roho zikaingia pale.
Kuna watu wamepotea baada ya hivi vigango kuibiwa. Kuna watu wamekufa baada ya hivi vigango kuibiwa. Kuna watu wako na shida, wanawazimu mpaka leo baada ya hivi vigango kuibiwa. So kufikia hapo nijulikane kwamba hayo maroho, maana tunaita sisi ni maroho, yamewekwa kwenye makavazi, lakini yanaumiza watu, na wafahamu kwamba yanaumiza watu mpaka wa leo. Havifai kukaa mahali hapo vilipo mpaka sasa. Ni vipawe wenyewe waangalie wataweka wapi. Saa hii ni viwe viko na Gohu, at least hata kama ni mmoja hapo walipo.
Elsewhere, police in Embu County are looking for 8 people who have been terrorizing residents at night in areas of Manyata, Siakago and Kiretiri in Embu County. Embu County Police Commander David Kabena observed that the 8 broke bars on Saturday morning at around 4 a.m. when members of the public raised alarm. He noted that the suspects were in a probox and ran away when they were challenged to surrender, forcing police to deflate the tires. He urged members of the public to liaise with police officers by giving information that will lead to the arrest of the suspects. Assorted alcoholic beverages were recovered from the abandoned vehicle, with the police commander saying police had launched investigations.
Usiku wa leo kama saa 10:20 ndio tuliletewa ripoti ya kwamba iko gari ambayo inazunguka na inafanya breaking. Ndio officers wangu wakatokea pamoja na OCS na OCPD wote na DCI wakaweza kutafuta hiyo gari, na hiyo gari ndio hii ambayo imetuhangaisha katika kaunti hii yetu ya Embu. Imefanya wizi mara kadhaa, na kama ujuavyo ya kwamba siku za mwisho ni 40, jana ndio ilifika mwisho ya siku yake ya kupatikana. Hii gari ilikuwa imebeba pombe hii yote, unaona wali break bar kadhaa na wakaimba, lakini officers wangu walikuwa alert, walikuwa patrol na wakaweza kuinasa. Kwa hivyo ile mwito na mapeana ni kwamba hii gari ni kama mali ya serikali sasa, kwa sababu vile amefanya anajua yeye mwenyewe, na tutatafuta mwenyewe ya hii gari ndio tujue ya kwamba yeye ni nani katika hii county, ndio tumalizane na hii wizi ambayo inaendelea kutuhangaisha. Hatuwezi kuwa ya kwamba mtu anatafuta mali yake halafu jioni anaacha mali anakuta ya kwamba hakuna. Na hiyo wizi ni kitu ambayo imeendelea Runyenjes, huko Kiretire, hata Chicago. Tumekuwa tukitafutana na hii probox kwa sababu imeenea sana ya kwamba iko probox inabeba pombe. Na hiyo gari kama unaona haiko na rangi moja, kwa hivyo we are going to subject it kwa mambo kadhaa ambayo ya kisheria iko. First of all, wakati walikuwa challenge na officers wangu walikataa, na hapo ndio wakajua kwamba hawa watu si watu wazuri, ndio wakapiga kidogo, ndio at least waone kama wanaweza kudeflate miguu waweze kushika, lakini wakati walipigwa risasi walitoroka, walisimamisha gari na wakatoroka, wao wenyewe wakaacha gari. 120,000 roughly 120,000. Kama unaona hapa chini wako na vyombo ile wanatumianga ya kuvuja maduka na kuvuja hata hiyo mabaa. Kwa hivyo yote iko hapa, tuko na ushahidi ya kutosha.
And a campaign has been launched against human trafficking in Kilifi County. This is after it emerged that the cases of human trafficking are on the rise and victims suffer both physical and psychological torture. According to officials, some of the victims of human trafficking are lured with employment opportunities, especially in the Middle East, with little known knowledge and information about what they will go through. Others are trafficked to Malindi, which is a renowned resort town, and end up suffering psychological trauma. The officials were speaking during a sensitization session organized by Azad, which is at the forefront on campaigning against human trafficking. Tina Tatu said the aim is to enlighten youth, especially girls, about human trafficking.
Kitu ilitupush ni juu tuliona Malindi ni hotspot ya victims wa human trafficking, na si watu wote wenye wanajua meaning ya human trafficking. Wengine wanadhani human trafficking ni kuchukuliwa uende Dubai ama kutolewa viungo, but hawajui pia psychology unaweza kuwa umeaffectwa na human trafficking. So that's why tumeamua kuja Malindi na create awareness.
You know that going there you'll be just staying indoors, not staying outside or going outside anyhow. So mimi huku kwetu I'm like a free bird, since it's a free country, so of course I would go anywhere I wish, but there things are different. So I went there, stayed there for 2 years, and when I come back I was scared of people. I was even scared of my own family members. Nikisikia kazini yako amekuja kusalimia ama sijui jirani nini, I would lock myself in a room. It took me a while until I come back to the real old me. But at some point I was hiding myself. I was very comfortable talking to people on phone or video calls, but meeting people in person, it was so difficult.
So if you do research, you'll know agency gani ambayo iko best for you ama for that place you want to go than going to vichochoroni, because some of the people wanakuwa violated ama wanakuwa trafficked because wameenda kwa vichochoro.
Sikuwa najua kwa hata kuna psychological trafficking. I thought of only physical trafficking. Ambo hii human trafficking imeathiri watu wengi sana, especially mashinani. Tuachane hata mjini. Mimi kutoka Ganze nimeona some many cases ambao sasa ombi langu